and great show.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go to this caller. Good evening, caller. Welcome to New World View.
Hey, it's Eric. How you doing?
Hey, Eric, New Orleans. How you doing?
Yeah, good talking to you.
Yes, sir. So what's going on in New Orleans, man? You know, we have Dr. Umar Johnson on the phone line with us. You have a question or comment?
Yeah, you know that. I'm on the air line?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, okay. Yes, Dr. Johnson, how you doing?
Peace and love, bro.
Yeah. Everybody's talking about the political elections now. What's the best strategy? To me, you have, two races running for the same presidential position. Is it best to vote for the lesser of two evils, or just for blacks to sit this one out until we get something that's worth our vote?
Someone said, there's a quote that says the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting a different result.
Right.
The answer to the question of what are we going to get in this election, it's the same answer you got in the last election, the one before that, and going all the way back to the first black man who voted after they passed the 15th Amendment. You're going to get nothing out of it because we don't understand how to leverage elections to benefit the community. Number one, we shouldn't be voting as Democrats or Republicans. If you're doing that, you're already lost because you're using your power to benefit a white platform and a white agenda. We should be voting as independents, an independent base of black voters. That's what we should be doing. We should have also financed the campaign of the person who we want to get elected. Not do that. Black people never leverage their money to political victory. We don't do that. We've never got it. That is the Achilles heel of black America. Let me take that back. We haven't been there in about 100 years. We was there with Tulsa. That got burned down in the days of Garvey. Garvey convention was 1920. I believe the Tulsa bombing was 21. We have not used our economic power in nearly 100 years to bring about a transformation of reality for black people. We are not interested in that. Black people don't want to hear nothing about using my disposable income for anything other than clothes, hair, homes, cars, vacations, white women, sneakers, jeans, and stuff like that. Until we are ready to leverage our money to bring about political results, we'll never get free. Every group uses economic power. Black people are the only people who do not use economic power to bring about political transformation. We want to vote, march, and pray. Vote, march, and pray. Vote, march, and pray. You'll never get nowhere with that. You have to use your money in order to make change.
I agree because I think that we should select our candidates, support our candidates before the election. You know, if we had that's right. Don't wait till we get to the election. Ask what you're going to do for me. I done voted for you. No, you make your demands for, as you said, independent candidate.
We're supposed to be there at the beginning.
That's right.
When those candidates first start announcing their intentions to run, there needs to be meetings, conversations on platform, concessions, how much money we're going to give to that candidate in order to put forth the agenda items that we need to be completed. We don't need a black political party. We don't even need a black politician. What we need is black dollars in order to hold the people who do get elected accountable so we can build black power. Black dollars, is the denominator for black power. You'll never get any black power without organized black dollars.
I sadly to say, I've been watching some things on YouTube that have been so disturbing to me because you have some people that have been trying to drag on Dr. Umar Johnson, and they look like clowns. And I went back and forth with this one person that was writing the post, and I was saying, how do you get so much pleasure on trying to bring down another black man? You know, I said, don't you understand that when you that white people have used dissension and deception and discrimination to try to divide black people, and when you do that, you are part of that tool that they use to divide us. But some people just want to continue to do that, and then they want to drag Dr. Umar for soliciting money for the school But yet, at the end of their video, they ask the people to give them money so they can continue clowning.
Look at the contradiction. Look at the contradiction.
Is it too late for blacks to leverage their finances in this political
It's never
election
too late.
now?
As long as we're alive, it's never too late. It's never too late. But time is running out, though, because you get to a certain point in this struggle where if you haven't done enough to liberate yourself politically or economically, you become almost a permanent second-class citizen, a permanent underclass. And we got to understand something. America is very clever, because what America does is it knows how to train its immigrants to make sure the immigrants uphold white supremacy as well. So when every immigrant group that comes to America, whether it's the Chinese, the Mexican, the Arab, it doesn't matter. When they come to America, they're taught that black people are to always stay on the bottom. And if you want to stay in a good standing with the United States, then you will also practice discrimination and racism against black people.
But I gotta ask Patrick this question. You know, did they give you any kind of orientation, Patrick, when you first arrived here in America?
We're too smart for them to tell us that. They will not teach us that. They might indicate it, but they wouldn't openly teach us about that.
Stay away from the black folks.
Not at all, no. So, you know, from Ghana, personally, I think I'm too smart for anybody to talk to me against my fellow black person as to how to stay away from them. That never happened to us.
But see, here's the point. The point is, when you hear black people constantly talking about multiculturalism, constantly talking about inclusion, constantly talking about this is not just about black people, that is a Negro who's out of their mind. Nobody in America is ever going to risk their relationship with the American power structure to help black people. President Trump just signed a historic Hispanic prosperity bill 2 weeks ago. A Hispanic prosperity bill. And guess what it was for? Economics and education. Economics and education, the two things that affect black people the most. Donald Trump is about to help Hispanics, and he's appointing a Hispanic director of the Hispanic Prosperity Initiative to make sure Hispanics make gains in the areas of education and economics. Where is the black prosperity bill? The black prosperity, we're not going to get one. And isn't it ironic that after these black protests that we just had, which were the most comprehensive in 55 years since the murder of Dr. King, you would think that there would be some laws that come out to help black people. Not at all. You got a law that came out to help the Hispanics, and then the homosexuals also got a victory in the United States Supreme Court, who said the Black Civil Rights Bill of 1964 actually makes it illegal for an employer to fire an employee because of their sexual orientation. So you have a victory for the gays, you have a victory for the Hispanics, and then Joe Biden said that he's interested in the conversation about reparations, but he wants Native Americans to be included in the reparations conversation.
What?
Now you have a victory. Yes. This was reported on CNN.
I must say, they should be entitled to some reparations, but that does not exclude the full amount of reparations that we are entitled to.
Absolutely. But the point here, you see a pattern.
Right.
And the pattern is we will always divert resources that should be going to black people to other non-white people in the country. And they're able to do this by pushing this people of color type of a label. See, until we get back to speaking only for blackness, we got to get back to only speaking only for blackness. Because when you say people of color and minority and multicultural, you give the government an out. Because they can give all that money to the Chinese, they can give all that money to the gays, they can give all that money to white women, they can give all that money to whomever they want, and not a penny got to go to black folks, because we have allowed them to use a label that includes anybody who's not white.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised that Donald Trump has actually signed something that is going to really give the Hispanic population a boost. When we're just talking about exploitation, I'm fine if he did that. But is that for real? Is just
trying to get votes.
Part of the strategy to get votes?
I think it's very real.
Donald Trump,
but it's also very real.
Donald Trump just talk about, for his whole life, he talk about this Hispanic population as if they are not even in existence in this country. And so having signed that, to me, it's okay. But what is the rationale behind that?
What
I'll tell you what the rationale behind it is. It's to make sure Hispanics, number one, don't form any type of lasting coalition with blacks, number one. Number two, I also think you're confusing Donald Trump's opinion of Mexicans with Donald Trump's opinion of white Cubans and Puerto Ricans. Remember, Puerto Ricans, are U.S. citizens. You understand? They vote. So you understand him singling them out. All Hispanics are not created equal in the eyes of white supremacists. So he knows exactly what he's doing. And by doing that, he guarantees that white supremacy has the Hispanics as an ally against black people. Remember, there were no Hispanic leaders who stood up and stood out for black people during these George Floyd protests. You can go back and look at them. It was mostly white people. You saw almost no Hispanics standing up and speaking for black people. They have never been allies of black people, even though they are genetically black themselves. They have always had a disdain for blacks. The only time you see Hispanics siding with blacks is if there's something in it for them, and the minute they get it, they also disidentify from us. Although they may be biologically black, they're not psychologically black, and we have to stop speaking up for them because they never speak up for us. They never speak up for us, but we always speak up for them.
So listen, we're going to go back to the phone lines. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to go to this caller. Good evening, caller. Welcome to New Worldview.
Hello?
Yes, that's you. Oh, this is Rick from Germany.
Yes, sir.
How you
Hello,
doing?
Dr. Umar.
He's in Black Power.
I'm calling to ask about your vision on what's coming with the COVID-19 vaccine.
I believe... Go ahead. I'm sorry, bro.
No, that was his question.
Okay.
He wants to know what's your vision for it.
I believe that one of the reasons that they are extending and intensifying this COVID pandemic, scamdemic, plandemic, is because they want to create such a hysteria and a fear surrounding it that when they come with the forced vaccination, nobody will resist it. This whole thing, the reason they're stretching this out until the new year is because they have to make sure that their case for forcing a mandatory vaccination will actually be approved by the United States Congress. And I can tell you right now that not black people, but white people are going to be the main ones fighting back against this thing. Black people do whatever white people tell them to do, but white people don't. So you're going to have white folks who are going to push back. You're going to have a lot of black folks too, because I'm not taking that. I'm not taking no. If they, but here's going to be the challenge. They're going to limit you from traveling if you don't get it. That's going to be the problem. So for those of us who are Pan-Africanists, who like going to Africa, trying to build to Africa, go back and forth to Africa, they're going to use this as a pretext and a justification to force you to take the COVID-19 vaccination, or you will not be allowed to come back into America. That's what's coming.
I want to welcome back to the phone lines Dr. Umar. So, let me see. That was Rick. So, Doctor, so what do we do then? So, we should examine our candidates more, select our candidates better, support them with our finances the same way I think that we should be supporting our own education. You know, so like your school. I think that, but people, I say these haters, somebody got to be paying them. They got to be getting paid for them to be hating like that.
Well, here's the one thing I wanted to say, Brother Dave. The reason we have to organize and go to the candidates is because we're not already organized and known for being such.
Mm-hmm.
Let me give you an example. If somebody's running for mayor of Philadelphia, governor of Pennsylvania, president of the United States, part of your campaign team's job is to identify the organized groups that are out there that you need to go to and get down on one knee and kiss their ring.
That's right.
In order to get their votes and their money. I can guarantee you that certain groups, cultural and economic, that Trump and Biden have been to because they're known for being organized. And whenever you have organized people, you have money and you have votes automatically. Automatically. When people are organized, they have votes and they have money. So you automatically seek them out. The black community is disorganized. That's why nobody ever comes to cater to the black community. And instead, what they do is they'll go to the NAACP, the Congressional Black Caucus, and they'll go to T.D. Jakes and Creflo Dollar and a few megachurch ministers. And that's it. They never go to the community. They don't have to because we're disorganized. But they will go to the people that we listen to, the influencers. See, we don't have leaders, but we have influencers. We don't have leaders, but we have influencers. The NAACP is an influencer. The Congressional Black Caucus is an influencer. Rest in peace to John Lewis, who passed a few days ago. Okay? The megachurch ministers, they're not leaders. They're not taking us anywhere, but they do influence how we think.
Athletes.
So everyone else has leaders. We are stuck with influencers.
Athletes are entertainers, are influencers.
They are influencers, absolutely. They'll go to a couple of rappers and get them to say, I'm going to vote for Joe Biden, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump, and then everybody runs off and does it. We don't do any research. We don't study the candidates. And the simplest thing that you should do before you vote is get a campaign contributors list. You can look it up online. Let me see who donated to Donald Trump. Let me see who donated to Joe Biden. Let me see who donated for the mayoral candidates. Let me see who donated to the U.S. Congressional races. Once you see who pays, you know who rules. Once you
got the strings.
You don't have to ask the candidate, what do you think about education? If you can tell that somebody who gave them a couple $1 million is against public schools. You don't have to ask them what they think about mass incarceration, where you can see that somebody who builds private prisons gave them a couple $1 million. You don't have to ask them what they're going to do about police genocide when you see they've been endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police. You don't have to ask questions. Just follow the donation.
Follow the money. So now you're talking about organization. A couple of weeks ago, we were talking to someone, and Patrick and I were saying I was saying that when the Vietnamese came here to America, they had a Vietnamese association which set them up in stores, and they were allowed to work and go up the economic ladder. The same thing happened with the Koreans. The Koreans came in here, they had a Korean association which would set them up in the stores, and the same thing happened. Then now we have the Dominican Republicans come here, they got a Dominican Republican Association, sets them up in the cookie cutter stores. Now they're even living in the buildings. So I was asking Pat, I said, well, because we were talking to somebody from Africa, I said, well, do they have, why don't they have any African organizations, associations that would set up our own people in cookie cutter establishments? And he said, well, we don't have any.
You do have that to some extent with the African immigrants. So down in Southwest Philadelphia, you have your strong African immigrant population.
That's true.
Do that to an extent. I don't think they've done it as effectively, to your point. I don't think they've done it as effectively as the non-African groups have done it. And African Americans haven't done it effectively at all. And the reason we can't do it is because we have a me-first mentality. See, the Chinese have a we first. The Arabs have a we first. The Mexicans have a we first. The Hispanics, they have a we first. African Americans have a me first. We are too busy competing with each other to share. People in competition don't share. When you look at the NBA games, there's one basketball. Okay, that team is competing with that team. You understand? They're not trying to share the ball. And that's the problem with African Americans. We are so busy trying to outdo one another that we fail to recognize we need one another. The jealousy, the envy, the gossip, the slander, the maliciousness is at an all-time high now in the black community. I don't think I can point to another period. We've been here 401 years under white power, longer than that before white power. But let's just deal with post-white power, 401 years. I don't think you can see another 25-year period. It's only been 20, but I'm just going to say the first quarter. You can't show me another 25-year period, and there have been 17 of them, where there was another population of African Americans who were as self-hating as we are. You can't show it to me in the 17th century. You can't show it to me in the 18th century. You can't show it to me in the 19th century. You can't show it to me in the 20th century. No other group of African people in this country have ever been as non-productive, self-hating, and white-worshiping as the African-American man and woman of the 21st century.
Do you think it's because they have worn them out, wore them down?
The further we get away from who we were,
yes,
the worse we will become.
That's right, because you become less of yourself.
Listen, when John Lewis died the other day, and I had the pleasure of meeting him in the Atlanta airport one day, when he died, he may have very well been the last major black leader / activist that you, and there may be a few left, but it ain't many, who you could sit your children down in front of, Brother David and Brother Patrick, and say, listen, Elder, can you tell them what it was like for our people 60 years ago, because they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
See, when you no longer have elders who lived it, when you no longer have elders who walked it, when you no longer have men and women who can verbally tell you what segregation was like, what Willie Lynch was like, what Jim Crow was like, riding on the back of the bus was like, being chased by the Ku Klux Klan. We don't have them elders no more. And at the same time, we have America rewriting the textbook. And then we are allowing them, Brother David and Brother Patrick, to sanitize. They are now sanitizing black history in the name of Black Lives Matter. I don't know if y'all been paying attention to this, but as they take down these statues of the racists, as they change the name of Aunt Jemima Pancake, as they change the name of Uncle Ben's Rice, as they remove Frank Rizzo's statue from in front of Philadelphia's City Hall, we need to understand. We need to understand that this isn't done because they want to eliminate racism. Racism is in the power, not in the statues. Racism is in the opportunities, not in the names. What they're doing, Brother David, Brother Patrick, is they are sanitizing the history right in front of our eyes, and we think they're eliminating racism when they're eliminating the evidence of racism.
Yeah, so you don't have nothing to point at.
Evidence. So our children, Brother David, not only no longer have elders who can give them the story. In about 10 years, they will not even be able to pick up a book and read the story. They are sanitizing the history of racism against black people in front of our faces, and we're not doing anything about it.
So we're going to go back to the phone lines and talk to our next caller. Good evening, caller. Welcome to the Worldview.
God bless, Brother Dave. I told you I didn't want to be on the air. I just want you to ask Dr. Umar Johnson a question real quick. But I'll ask him since you're on the air. But, yeah, I'm with you on that 21st century political correctness, brainwashing people into forgetting what happened, just like they did with the Warner Brother cartoons and the Disney cartoons, how they took the stereotypical and racist imagery out of that. And so, you know what I mean? And had us watching Bugs Bunny on TV. If you could tell people about that history, too. Also, as far as being adversarial, yeah, I hear it a lot. People are quick to throw each other under the bus. Why? Well, that's psychological treatment. You know how that go. That's how we've been bred to behave. And I'm sure you could talk more about that, Dr. Umar Johnson. But the question I want to ask you is two questions. One, what organization would you recommend people who are interested in seeing our progress either join or get involved with? And the next one, man, I just forgot that quick. You know I'm black. Man, oh, man. I might remember it in a minute. But, oh, yeah, here we go. Ubuntu. You know that principle, brother?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you put the people on to that? Because I remember a banging story. You want me to tell the story? You want to tell the story?
You can tell the story. Go ahead.
All right. So this white dude show up in the African village, right? And he from the USA. He got all this candy. So he trying to do some quote-unquote humanitarian mission, but you know that usually means trying to mess us up. But anyway, the group of children is out there, so you know they welcome him with the song because you know we human. And he says, all right, well, one of the first activities we'll do with the children is we're going to have a race. And I brought all this candy from the United States. Whoever wins this race gets the candy. So the children say, all right. So the white dudes say, all right, line up. On your mark, get set, go. All of a sudden, the children lock arms and start walking arm in arm to the finish line. So after they cross, the white dude like, wait a minute, hold up. Why didn't one of y'all run to win? And the children said, black African children said, there ain't no fun if my homie can't have none. I'll let you talk about the organizations, my brother. More love.
Yes, sir. The concept of Ubuntu is a South African concept, which speaks to the basic humanity and compassion that we used to have, and many of us still have, towards one another. Ubuntu embodies the proverb that I am because we are. I am because we are. And I'm sure Brother Patrick knows about this. And in most African indigenous cultures, the smallest unit of identity is the family. The smallest unit of recognized identity is the family. Yes, there are words and concepts for the individual, but it is the family that is considered the foundation of identity. That is where the concept of the surname comes from. That's why we have a last name. Everybody in the same house has the same last name because that is the foundation. We might be different branches, but the root is the same. And so we as African people in America have to get back to Ubuntu, I am because we are. But what makes it so difficult for us to grasp that divine essence of Ubuntu is that the European gave us an extremely large narcissistic ego. See, the root word of Negro is ego. In fact, there can't be a Negro without the ego. See, Malcolm X was murdered because of the ego of a Negro. Do you understand? Fred Hampton was murdered because of the ego of the Negro. If you take the EG out of the Negro, you don't even have a Negro no more. So we got to recognize that the European has given us this enlarged sense of self, and then he abused it and beat it down. So not only do we have a narcissistic self, we have a psychopathological narcissistic self. So this is where the black psychologists and psychiatrists and social workers and therapists have to come in and help our people heal, because there is a profound need for healing in black America that is not being discussed and that is often being covered up with superficial religion and superficial spirituality. And I can tell you, as someone who practices traditional African spirituality, no matter how deep you are in the spirituality, it's going to be difficult to heal yourself if you are not being honest with yourself. Therapy works only because the person who needs it is absolutely honest. And it is difficult to do that when you are alone amongst yourself. And that's where community comes in, because the community forces you to accept responsibility for your mistakes and limitations so that they can be healed. But that is done in a supportive environment, not an accusatory, condemnatory type of a space. And the other quick point I wanted to make, he asked about organization. I am of the opinion that if you really want to do some work for black people, if you really want to do work, I recommend that you join a special interest black organization. What do I mean by special interest? Join a farmers cooperative. Join an economic cooperative. You understand? Join an investment club. Join a community cleanup movement. Join a political action committee. The reason I think special interest groups are more effective is because most national liberation groups have become intellectual masturbation tanks. Most national black liberation fronts are intellectual masturbation tanks. If you look at almost most of them, they're not doing anything progressive. It is all ideology. It is all intellectual masturbation. The only people I'm seeing realize gains on the ground are special interest groups. So I recommend that you join a special interest group as opposed to wasting your time in one of these super woke, ultra pro-black liberation fronts who ain't doing anything but discussing ideology.
Now, you know, you as a certified child psychologist, I was thinking about this. I said, a lot of times, we as people often said on this show that, you know, we are retarded. So, as a certified child psychologist, and if the person as a child doesn't mentally grow up, do you still find that there are things that you can treat that person with that you would use the same methods with a child because they haven't fully developed as an adult?
Yes, you can. It's called being stuck. You know, a lot of people are stuck. You know, it's just like if you see, you know, a 40-year-old man still behaving like a 12-year-old. He could be stuck. Maybe there was something that he needed from his mother or father he didn't get at 12, and he's literally still stuck there. It's like the woman at 60 years old who's still trying to get the attention of every man who walks by because she's still stuck in development. There was a point in her life where she should have gotten all that love and nurture from her biological father, and she didn't, so she's stuck. And until she gets enough attention, she'll never be able to move on. Yes, you could become developmentally stuck, which is why I teach people that we all have two ages. We have a psychological age and a biological age. Okay, biologically, I may be 40. Psychologically, I could be 4. And that's why when we talk about building relationships and building families, it's important that you study your potential mate to make sure you understand their psychological age. Their psychological age, because one of the reasons a lot of black relationships ain't working out is because you got people getting married who are biologically the same age, but they're not psychologically the same age. She may be biologically and psychologically 40. He might be psychologically 14. You understand? So we really have to study people thoroughly enough. And the reason we can't, Brother David, the reason why most black institutions are toxic and unhealthy is because black people are toxic and unhealthy. And we don't want to admit it, and we live in a toxic culture that teaches us money is the panacea for mental illness. No matter how many problems you have, depressed, alcoholic, crackhead, cigarette fiend, whatever the case is, if you just make enough money, then your problems will go away. And nothing could be further from the
I was going to say, that's what they think. Because there's a whole lot of unhappy rich people.
Well, some people would tell you one of the quickest ways to get depressed is to get rich. Now, of course, we don't want to. Yeah, some people say the quickest way to get depressed is to get rich. As Mike Tyson said, you know, you spend most of your life trying to get rich, and then when you get the money, you're still not happy because now you got to protect your money from all the scavengers that want to take it away from you. But, see, I want to get rich. I want to be a multimillionaire.
Me too.
But not so I can be comfortable. I want to be a multimillionaire so I can build Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy all over the world. You understand?
That's
I want to use that to invest and build black hospitals all over the world, black supermarkets all over the world, black banks all over the world. I want to be a multi-billionaire, but not for selfish reasons, for reasons of black liberation.